Welcome to Hockey Night in New York, where Islanders hockey always reigns supreme. Whether you were raised at the barn in Uniondale or born in the stable at Belmont, Hockey Night in New York is your home for all things Isles. Now, let's drop the puck and get this party started.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is Hockey Night in New York. Welcome to the program, everyone. It is Monday, February 3rd, 2025. Coming to you live from Florida Media in Rockville Center. Got an absolutely stupendous show coming up for you tonight. Andrew Gross of Newsday will be joining us to talk about the Islanders' winning streak, the winning streak ending, and plenty more Isles chat. My name is Sean Cuthbert. With me, as always, is Mr. Stefen Rosner. Stefen, how are you tonight?
I'm doing all right. I'm surviving. I'm alive. Yeah,
you feeling okay?
The Neo flu kicked my ass.
Dude, I've been saying this to everybody. I don't remember a winter where I've come across as many people getting sick as this winter this year. Never seen it. Happening everywhere, all the time.
But you know I'm doing better than though, right? Mat Barzal.
Ooh.
Yeah, we might as well start with this, then get to some experience points, but...
Yeah, well, let me rattle off the sponsors.
Yeah, we'll do that.
And, then we'll do that.
Yeah, that's important. We even talked about this, too.
Let's not forget about the people that are, keeping the lights on for us.
I'm a little under the weather. Yeah.
All right, so welcome to the program, everybody, on this fine Monday night. We want to start by thanking our wonderful sponsors, starting with Main Street Board Game Cafe. Find your crowd and unplug your game at 307 Main Street in Huntington Village. We're also proud to be sponsored by Center Station Bar and Grill. Catch every Islanders game with great food and drinks at 279A Sunrise Highway in Rockville Center all season long. We are also proud to be sponsored by Razor and Kniff, attorneys at law, ready to fight for you. Check them out at RAISERANDKENNIFF.com for a free consultation. And we are also proud to be sponsored by Tobii Hockey, the innovative hockey technology company and creator of the Diamond Air Blade. Get 10% off at TovieHockey.com with promo code HNINY10. And now with the pleasantries out of the way, we will start with experience points. Presented by Main Street Board Game Cafe, where we make our points about the Islanders' experience last week. But Stefen, I know you're chomping at the bit to talk about the injuries, so why don't you get into that?
Yeah, I have a CVS receipt here. Today, Mat Barzal, he's out indefinitely with a lower body injury. He blocked that Radish shot. Looked like it went right off his left knee.
Yeah.
Everyone could argue about the injury and where he should be on the ice, whatever it is. He made the right read in the right moment, just gets unfortunate results, and then, of course, they allow a goal less than a minute later, so that's the tough blow. But him being out indefinitely is rough. The season he's had, he already missed a ton of games early in the year. Scott Mayfield, this is an important one. He's only day-to-day with a lower body injury. Got hurt in that Lightning game. If he was out long-term, they've had major issues there. On Saturday, we had talked to Lamoriello, got some more updates. Noah Dobson, who's on LTIR with a lower body injury, and Ryan Polak, who is on IR with an upper body injury. The plan is for them to skate during the break, probably the latter half. So I would say they're not out the rest of the season.
Right.
We don't know if Barzal is or not, but it sounds like it. So that's good news there. Varlamov was skating and taking shots on his own. He has been shut down. He is out indefinitely.
Okay.
He is on LTIR. Hogberg, it's a 4-week injury. Could be back by the tail end of the Four Nations, maybe that first week back. So that's good news. That's really important news.
Yeah, okay.
Mike Riley, no timetable. He still skates and takes part in the morning skates beforehand and practices, but hasn't yet fully practiced with the team yet. We know his situation. And Hudson Fasching, he went down to Bridgeport in a conditioning stint. They're on their AHL break. I would assume that he'll be back at skate tomorrow.
Okay, let's just hit reverse real quick for a second. You say Barzal's out indefinitely and Mayfield's out day-to-day. If there's one thing we learned about this season, going back to training camp, we're not so sure day-to-day actually means day-to-day. So, yes, it's nice to hear that Mayfield is only day-to-day. We'll find out if that's actually the case. And indefinitely, that's usually, it's going to be a long time.
Well, Riley was said out indefinitely, and he's been out months. And for Barzal, everyone wants to go look up what the injury possibly could be. If it's his kneecap, it's going to be like a 3 or 4 month thing, it seems like, at the very least. I mean, I dislocated my kneecap in high school playing ice hockey puck right off the kneecap. It was in butterfly. I didn't put the stick in the right spot. I was on crutches for 8 to 10 weeks. Again, I don't have the body of a NHL hockey player nor the competitiveness to work. I don't know how hard he's going to have to work to get back, but one, it had to hurt a lot, and number two, it's got to be pretty frustrating if you're Barzal because that sucks.
Needless to say, it sounds like Barzal at the very least is going to be out a while, which of course is a huge hit to this team because of how well they've been playing. Now, before we dive into the games, do you think that the Islanders might try to, I suppose, support that position like they have the defense? Or...
Well, they will have 9.15 plus their 1.95 in cap space. That's 11.1 million or around there in available cap space. So yeah, they can in theory fit. They could fit in a superstar, a couple of players to fill that role.
Yeah.
I don't think Lou's going to, I mean, people said that Lou will take his time, which he's shown in the past. Then again, everyone that went down the last week and a half, where they had three defensemen in a 7-day span.
Right.
So he quickly did that. The difference is that you can get depth defenders off waivers or sign the way they did. You can't find a Barzal in free agency right now like they did with DeAngelo or waiver wire or even a trade. That's very difficult to do. That being said, if the Islanders find a way to go into the break winning games, and we still have over a month until the deadline, 9 games, I think, total, there's still time to figure that out. But it ultimately depends if Lou is in, we just want to make the playoff mode, and then we get Barzal back. This happened a couple years ago, right?
And ultimately what the team does.
Right. So could he use the cap space to his advantage? To be fair, 1,000%, Barzal has not been placed on LTIR yet. It's going to probably happen.
Yeah.
Then again, when Wallstrom tore his ACL, he was never placed on LTIR. So I don't know.
Anything can happen.
Anything is possible.
We don't know.
But we should get to experience points first before the game.
Yeah. Well, we do both. But yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was going to give it to Boqvist.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Yeah, he plays one game with the Islanders and for his first game with the Islanders and scores a huge goal. Gets a Barzal secondary assist, but he's probably the first defenseman we've seen all year finish a rebound. Like he was the second guy in.
Right.
Like I'm trying to think back of an Islander defender at all in the last. I really couldn't think of another defender that one would have gotten up the ice that quickly and been the second guy to touch it. That's like the forward, the third high forward that comes into the trailing forward. So I was shocked when it was Boqvist.
Yes, a little surprising to find out that that's who it was, but I'll take it. Islander fans will take it. Big goal, and ends up being a big part of that win.
We should go over that game now.
Sorry?
So we should go over that game now. Set you out there.
Maybe we will.
Yeah, we should.
But let's start with Tuesday against Colorado. 5-2 win. Holmstrom, he gets 2 goals, one of them an empty net. He's looking real good. Sorokin is stellar with 30 saves. We said it last week. This is another test, right? The next hurdle, right? Closing out the homestand against Colorado. They come into town, and the Islanders take care of business.
It's kind of crazy. They dominated. Their first win of the year was a 6-2 win over Colorado in Colorado.
Right.
For some reason, what they did, the best thing they did is they essentially shut down Cale Makar.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a hard thing. Most teams can't do that. Nathan McKinnon, of course, he's going to get his chances, and he had that silky move to set up. Who was it, Lehkonen?
I think
scored
so.
From his knees. That was a nice score. That was pretty
From
filthy. That was started the beginning of the demise for Isaiah George. Not his fault. I mean, I don't think anyone wants to see George 1-0 with McKinnon, but just the way the Islanders battled, they knew how important that game was to end the homestand. They just went to work, and you mentioned it, Holmstrom. He's a force unleashed this year. He's just so much more confident, and they really took it to Blackwood too. They got traffic in front. When they found their game, they got to it, and it was impressive. And the PK was strong again as well.
Yeah, I think there might be something to be said about when you mentioned, the fourth line and the bottom 6 stepping up the hitting, right? Maybe that has kind of bled through the lineup because they do just seem to be competing a lot harder out there, and it's made such a difference where they're competing even with teams like Colorado, Tampa Bay, even Florida last night. The result obviously got a little away from them there. We know why. We'll get into that. But they even looked good against Florida in spurts, despite some of the goals they let in. And
Sibylkov came back, and that was the biggest question. They had one on Saturday, and everyone, okay, well, if they keep winning, Sibylkov's not going to play. And what does Waugh do? He puts Sibylkov in. He takes Engvall out. One of his go-to moves. But really, he said it was more that Gacom earned it. It wasn't that Engvall was playing bad, just Gacom was playing too well to take him out, and you commend Gacom because that guy he's Cal Clutterbuck Jr. right now, minus the chirping. I don't think he chirps the way Clutterbuck does.
He's got to get a little more comfortable first.
Right.
But start running his mouth.
He had a big weekend. But it was just, he comes in and he stays in the lineup, and the ability to forecheck, like you mentioned, and roll in the bottom 6, that's what allows teams that have mobile defensemen to eliminate their mobility. Like Devin Taves was a non-factor. Like these guys were non-factors, and they're always factors.
Sure.
So it was a great sign for the Islanders.
Well, speaking of Maxim Siplikov, he answers the bell in the following game in Philadelphia. They're finally on the road after the long homestand. And you were wondering if something like that was going to happen, right? But Siplikov's like, let's go, fights Lawton, whatever. Right. It was what it was.
Both did not connect, by the way. It looked bad for Siplikov, but it wasn't really much.
The silly unspoken rule about winning a fight is whoever lands on top of the other guy is
he
the
lost
winner.
the wrestling match.
Right, exactly. So 3-0 win. Sorokin gets the shutout. Another excellent performance from the team, and they're rolling.
Holmstrom again, big night for him.
Yes.
And then Gakko. He gets his first. I mean, this is the cool moments, even in a season like this where we don't know what's going to happen. Where you remember these moments. Off the rush, McLean feeds him, and the reaction from Gakko reminded me of remember when Bardreau scored his first NHL goal on the penalty shot.
Oh yeah,
just the emotion from him, but also his teammates, like how proud they were of this guy. You could see it. I mean, Gakko was living the dream. Those are the kinds of goals where you see a gritty forward. You love to see it because he gets the net hard. He beats the guy there. It's a 2-on-0 in tight. I think it was Siplikov that fed him too. That was him with the quick pass, which is why Siplikov's so effective and so important because he has this innate ability, not just have the IQ, but the ability to make that pass. Like he could have reset there. If you guys go back and watch the play, he could have gone back to the D to reset the play, and instead he picks the puck up, looks up, feeds him, and off of McLean and Gakko go. So great finish by Gakko. But Holmstrom, when he's playing the way he's playing right now, the Islanders' third line that's supposed to be this defensive line, they bring the offense. And that's so important in today's NHL, having scoring depth up and down the lineup.
Yeah, no doubt. And now fast forward to Saturday night, and maybe this was the game a lot of us said, okay, this is where the bubble bursts and the streak is over. But
just
because
one
they
thing
have
burst,
such a
and there was the kneecap, sadly.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Rough. That's rough. But they go into Tampa, which hasn't been friendly to the New York Islanders. And, you get the ghosts of blown leads past, giving up that late goal in the final minute for the tying goal. But the Islanders end up getting the huge win in overtime, courtesy of Tony D.
So I need to...
way ahead of everybody up there.
I need to take blame for the blown lead. I will throw myself under the bus.
What'd you do?
Before the game, I went into the locker room. I was talking with Anders Lee and Bo Horvat, and I said to Anders, I said, you guys haven't blown this swear to God, guys, I'm sorry about this. I said, you guys haven't blown a lead since like November. I said, knock on wood. I'm not trying to jinx you at all, but
but here
you
it
really
is.
put that to bed.
Yeah.
And Anders was like, you know what? We have it.
Right. Thanks for bringing that up,
Yeah.
Steph.
And so I'm watching the game, and I'm like, they're going to win this. Like, this is playing. They're playing well. Barzal. I mean, as much as Barzal getting hurt was terrible, he did his job. The shot goes wide. They have a minute 20 to kill. I'm like, wow, they're going to win this. And then when Kucherov banks one in off Pajot with 40 seconds left, I said, please win this in overtime so I don't have to walk into this room and be like, Anders, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was one of those games, as you mentioned, where this was the game you said this is probably it.
Right.
Tampa's a really good team. Maybe their power play hadn't been the best at home, but yeah, and what happens with the Islanders, Boqvist ties it. We mentioned Boqvist before, 1-1.
Yeah.
The Islanders score a power play goal. And I think one of the funniest things ever was, I forgot who posted it on social media, but Waugh goes up to John McClain and gives him a pat on the back.
Is that right?
It was the first power play goal in, I think, 5 games. But yeah, they tried not to lose, I think, late. Obviously, Tampa knows how to win. So, I mean, I felt so bad for Pajot, too. He's in the right spot. He blocks most of it. It just goes top shelf, and Sorokin was so good in that game.
Right.
That was vintage. We keep talking about these vintage performances like they haven't been this good in 10 years, but Sorokin looks like the guy that he was a couple years ago when he was a Vezina finalist. And then the Horvat to Tony DeAngelo play. First off, DeAngelo beat, blanking on his name, Vasilevsky, clean glove side.
Yeah.
Like as if he was an elite goal-scoring forward off the rush. But Horvat, again, it's one of those plays, and Boqvist won't get credit for this, but if you watch the replay, Boqvist took some attention away from Horvat, give him some more time, and then Horvat quickly finds Tony, who snuck behind the D. I think Pellick had just come off the ice, and DeAngelo hopped on and said, let me just hang here.
Yeah.
And it worked, and they win this game. They push their win streak to 7 games, and you're thinking, what is it going to take for this team to lose?
Right.
Like the hockey gods
the fourth string goaltender.
The hockey gods, yeah, we'll get to that in a second. But the hockey gods keep saying, you have to sell, Lou. You have to sell. And then this team keeps saying, we're not going to do that. They just find a way. And that's what you could say about all these games. Gritty performances.
Gutsy win. They lose Barzal and Mayfield. Moving on very quickly to last night. Skarich makes his debut. And the team hangs him out to dry in the first period. And it was pretty much a shooting gallery for Florida. They settle it down in the second. They battle back. They take a short lead. doesn't work out. Florida takes it back late in the second period, and the Islanders are unable to, find that extra level to come back. Now, maybe you can make the argument that if Sorokin, maybe even Hogberg was in, maybe one or two of those goals don't go in, the Islanders come away with at least a point in that game. But I think Skarich gave him a chance to win, just came up short, and the bubble finally burst.
Yeah, I don't think the injuries are an excuse. I think it's just the fact that that's a team that knows how to win a Stanley Cup, where they know how to generate off the rush, but know when to pick and choose their spots. And the Islanders made too many mistakes. Again, there were injuries they had to overcome. They seemed a little questionable on D in terms of coverage, but all in all, Skarek does make his debut. He's solid. It's not his fault they lose, but unfortunately, the win streak does come to an end, and we'll get to what happened with Kulikov in the ceremony after we talk to Andrew Gross.
Yes, absolutely. So experience points from me. I mean, obviously a level up for Skarich. He literally leveled up into the NHL.
If you could pronounce his name right, he'd appreciate that.
Oh, is it Skarek?
It's actually really simple. It's Skarek.
Okay, I've heard Skarich too.
Well, wait till you ask Andrew.
Sorry.
Wait, when Andrew comes on, ask him how to pronounce it.
We will. We will do that.
Right.
So I'm going to give him 367 experience points. I'm going to give 452 to Siplikov for answering the bell on the fight. And you have anything else? You had the Boqvist.
Boqvist, I'm going to give him 2, just because he has missing his 2 front teeth.
Nice. Yeah. Very good. All right, so that will do it for Experience Points presented by Main Street Board Game Cafe. Unplug your game and raise your experience at 307 Main Street in Huntington Village on Long Island's North Shore. Games for sale and for open play, food and drink, beer and wine, fun, and friends. Bring the magic of phones down, eyes up, tabletop board games to your family. Our staff will help you find the right game from old favorites to the hottest new releases. We have everything from strategic to easy party games. Get off your screens for a night your family will remember. Looking for meetups to join? Our Magic the Gathering, Dungeons & Dragons, Lorcana, and organized play communities are welcoming for all. We also do parties and corporate events located at 307 Main Street in Huntington Village. Go to mainstboardgamecafe.com for more information. Main Street Board Game Cafe, find your crowd, unplug your game. Now we'll go to break, and on the other side, we'll be speaking to Andrew Gross.
Islanders fans, Sunday night is hockey night in New York. Whether you were raised at the barn in Uniondale or born in the stable at Belmont, tune in to Hockey Night in New York. Catch us live from Floored Media in Rockville Center, Sunday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern, as we cover all things Islanders at twitch.tv/HockeyNightNY. All episodes are also available on YouTube and all your favorite podcast providers. And for all you social butterflies, you can follow at Hockey Night NY on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram for all the latest updates. Hockey Night in New York, the best night of the week for any Islanders fan.
Attention all artists, storytellers, and creators of all kinds. It's time to make your content stand out above the rest, and Floored Media is the place to make your visions become a reality. Maybe you want to elevate your podcast and add some video, or turn that novel you wrote into an audiobook. Or maybe you just need the right space to produce your daily vlog. Whether you're a seasoned veteran or just starting out, Floored Media has the professional facilities, exceptional staff, and intimate atmosphere to breathe life into your creative passions at every step of the process.
Did you have a nice break? Well, it's time to get back on the couch for more Islanders therapy on Hockey Night in New York.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Hockey Night in New York. It is time for On the Line, presented by Tovi Hockey, the innovative hockey technology company. Joining us right now, friend of the show from Newsday, Mr. Andrew Gross. Andrew, how do you do?
I'm home. I got home.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It was a long day.
Very nice, very nice. So listen, off the bat, very important question to start this segment here. Stefen and I were arguing about it just before he came on. How do you pronounce the fourth-string goaltender's last name?
The fourth string?
That's right.
Oh,
Jakob, Mr. Jakob.
Yeah. Look, it's been Jakub Skarek since the day he was born, but all of a sudden now it's Jacob Skarek. So.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So I did get it wrong, apparently.
All right, thanks for joining us, Andrew. That's all we had. No, I'm kidding.
That's all we needed, Andrew. Have a great night. So let's talk about this winning streak. It came to an end last night against the Florida Panthers. Islanders gave them a bit of a run there in the second period until it kind of fell apart. But what did this team show you over the course of those 7 games? And now that it's got fans talking about playoffs again, we know about all the injuries. We'll talk about that. But what did you see out of this team? And is there hope for a postseason for the Islanders?
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you what, though, losing Barzal and Mayfield on top of Dobbs, it's a lot. It's really a lot to overcome. So I would, not to, rain on their parade, even after a 7-game winning streak. I still think those playoff odds are pretty slim given the totality of the injuries. But what I saw during the winning streak, which was very impressive, was for the first time all season, they were really playing as a connected unit, and they were connecting on passes, and they weren't fumbling the puck around in their defensive zone. The breakouts were quick. They were navigating the neutral zone and actually applying some forechecking pressure and all the things that, they were doing in 20 and 21 when they were, a really good team. And I can't even begin to fathom why it took until game 43 or 44 of the season for them to figure out how to play as a 5-man unit.
Yeah.
Just be happy they did. And they, what, as a result, they were playing fast. They're not a fast team, but the game was fast, and they were creating chances, and they were heading to the net. And, I know it's a cliche, but, it was a simple game. They had one objective: get the puck quickly up ice and get it to the crease. And they did that really, really well. And, even down in Sunrise yesterday, that was a wacky game. They actually gave themselves a chance in that game.
Yeah, that was a crazy game. I wanted to ask you talk about playing fast. Are you impressed with how Tony DeAngelo has really been not just able to fit into this group, but he's kind of been a catalyst for the last couple of wins, I should say, and his ability to just play the puck?
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. He's sort of looked like he's been in the NHL all season rather than, out in the wilderness of Russia, right? Look, Tony DeAngelo does not, lack for any confidence, or, he's not going in as this wide-eyed rookie. He knows he can play. I think he thought that, the Flyers and the Rangers and the Hurricanes were all out of their minds for giving up on him, So, he stepped right in, and Stefan's been talking about it, almost since his first game. Like, Romanov looks really comfortable with him. And it's not only helping Tony D's game, it's really helping Romanov's game.
Maybe before Sean butts in, maybe DeAngelo and Romanov are speaking some Russian together. Maybe that's helping him.
Yeah, he probably picked it up while I was there for 5 minutes. But Andrew, let's keep it on this new defensive core that we have now with the Islanders. Talk about the other new guys. Obviously, a smaller sample size, but what have you seen out of Boqvist and Perunovich?
Yeah,
I knew I was going to do that.
Perunovich. Yeah, all I know is I learned his first name was Scott. So
yeah, I should have went with that. Scott P. Yeah.
Look, they're both undersized, right? And they both sort of, struggled to gain consistency as NHL players for a reason. But they've come in and they've both been assertive. They've gone north. Perunovich loves getting down low towards the crease. He's been really good in that way. Boqvist scores in his first game, and I think it was quite clear that the problem in Florida was Paul Maurice. And this is not a knock on Paul Maurice. Paul Maurice, came to the conclusion very quickly that Boqvist did not fit in with what the Panthers were trying to do, or the way they played. And look, he's not going to be a Scott Mayfield. He's not going to slam opponents up against the wall and play a physical game. Both Perunovich, who, like I said, is, fairly undersized for an NHL defense, and Boqvist, they're looking to create offense. And, on the trip, I forget which arena we were in, but I was walking with Thomas Hickey, and I said to him, like, Hicks, Perunovich, to me, looks about the same size as Ishikov was, right? He's a really small guy. I was like, why can Perunovich function as an NHL player, whereas Ishikov really couldn't? And Hicks said, at that size, you have to be really willing to take the hit and to get hit and to come out of that. And Hicks also said it's sometimes easier for a defenseman to play at that size than a forward. I would have thought it was the other way around, but Hicks said, the undersized guys, if they're taking the right angles and they kind of have, the stones to go into the corner, they can play at that size. And I think, I think Perunovich sort of hits the check boxes there.
Yeah, I think I could headbutt Ishikov. I think he's like 5'8". Yeah. I think Perunovich is like a couple inches. Not that I would hit.
Why would you want to do that?
No, I wouldn't want to do that. No.
What's wrong with you?
But I wanted to ask you too. Obviously, Lou has decisions to make about the deadline, whether he's going to buy or sell. But given all of the injuries we've seen so far, do you think it is crazy to let Brock Nelson go to the Four Nations face-off, representing the Islanders still?
Yeah, I mean, all things being equal, and we've talked about this. I think I wrote this at one point. I know you've written it. Yeah, you don't. You sort of want to trade him beforehand, because if he gets hurt, then you literally get nothing. And geez, it's not like we've seen Islander players get hurt, right? So that's
that very thing
you don't
happened.
wish that on anyone, but that's got to be on the table a little bit. On the other hand, if Lou may have already 100% made up his mind, and he's not going to tell us, but he may have 100% made up his mind that he is keeping Brock Nelson, and he'll just let it play out as a free agent. And then, if that's the case, then obviously, you're going to let it roll, for the Four Nations. But I would have probably been more conservative, especially once JT Miller and the trade started happening, the Mikko Rantanen trade with Nietzsche. Once those two trades came off, I would have been on the phone saying, "Hey, my guy's out here too. Anyone want to offer me something for this?" But that's just not how Lou views it. Lou views this as, if we can get into the playoffs, any team who gets into the playoffs can win a Stanley Cup. So, that's, I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm just giving you, Lou's point of view on this.
Yeah, Andrew, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer for the Islander fans looking towards the future here, but I have a feeling Nelson, if they stay where they are, and generally, I don't think Nelson's going anywhere, whether that's the right thing to do or the wrong thing to do. But let's talk about another forward who's performing exceptionally well this season. That's Simon Holmstrom. He's looking real good, potted himself a few goals this past week. He's already passed his career high last season. I think that was 25 points. Maybe just talk a little bit about him, how he's basically growing with this team and looks like a player. He might not be a middle six guy anymore. He might end up being a top six guy.
It's amazing what confidence does for you. I mean, you hear it all the time, right? But he's a guy who's finally confident in his shot, and that's just translated to the rest of the game. And also, him and J.G. Pageau just get each other,
yeah.
And you always hear, like, you're trying to get two guys together, and then you figure out the third guy. So, you Horvat, Barzal, Nelson, Palmieri, Pageau and Holmstrom is a real thing.
Yeah.
You talk about that, Pageau and Holmstrom, and we obviously know Barzal is out indefinitely. We know Duclair was up there. Duclair's clearly struggled. Could you see a situation where Holmstrom gets to skate up there, or Pageau, or do you think that Y is just going to, like you said, is going to have a real hard time separating Pageau and Holmstrom?
Yeah, I really do. I think Patty's instincts, and he said this to us, right? His instincts are to find something and to want to stay with it rather than, continually tinkering. I just feel like, what? You signed Anthony Duclair as, with with the intention of playing him on the top line. You know, you thought you'd be playing him with Horvat and Barzal, but when you signed him as a free agent, the intention was for him to be on that top line. Well, you know, it's crunch time now, and this is what you brought this guy in for. So let's do that, you know, and I just think, yeah, maybe, you know, Simon could probably, he can certainly skate with Bo Horvat and certainly Anders Lee. But, you know, just scroll through the game notes each day and take a look at the Islanders' record when J.G. Pajot gets a point.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
You know, there's something like, you know, going into the other game, there was something like 15-2-1 or 15-3-1, something crazy, right? So if you know it is, you know, crucial for J.G. Pajot on top of all the other stuff he's doing to be scoring a little bit here, why not keep Simon Holmstrom with him, given the chemistry they so clearly have?
Yeah.
On the flip side of that, though, what if it was Pajot back with Lee and Horvat? Because that was a line right after Barzal got hurt the first time that took off and had a really good couple of weeks.
Yeah, and the flip side of that is I'd be worried that, you know, Simon Holmstrom's production would go down.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I just think you're robbing Peter to pay Paul if you separate those two at this point.
Yeah, Andrew, I think that's a good point. So last one from me here. We got 3 more games coming up before the break for the Islanders. 3 tough games. You got Vegas tomorrow. You got a back-to-back in Winnipeg and Minnesota. Top teams here in the league. How do you think this team is going to fare, especially when you think about Barzal being out, Mayfield maybe coming back? How are they going to fare? And how well do they need to fare, I suppose, to kind of convince Lou to, I suppose, keep the band together?
Yeah, no, those are great questions, and they're sort of, I know they're tied together, but, you know, Lou, again, I get the sense that Lou's made up his mind already.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
With, you know, I think there's 6 points on the board, right?
Mm-hmm.
You would love to get 4 of those 6 points. But with that, Vegas, Minnesota, the Jets in Minnesota on a back-to-back. Are you kidding me?
Right.
You know, to quote Patrick Waugh, you know, if you get 3 of these 6 points, and you go into the break, I think you can feel pretty decent about yourself, and you probably slide back in the playoff race a little bit if you only get 3 of 6. But I do think 3 of 6 here is a reasonable ask. And then you hope over the break that one of your defensemen can get back, you know, whether you know, because they said Dobson and Pulock were going to try and start skating during the break, right? I mean, it's certainly, looking at the injury they had, it certainly doesn't seem like they'd be ready when you got back from the Four Nations break. But right. I think you know, if you can get one of those guys back, because DeAngelo has been such a solid addition, you know, you could, you know, it was an addition. It wasn't just a fill-in, right? And then, you know, and then the other thing is you have to hope that Hogberg is ready.
Yeah.
Right? Because Sorokin's been great. First star of the week. First time he's done that in his career. He's been brilliant, but we've seen in the past when he has to play those, you know, 12, 13, 14 games in a row, which Patty is going to have to rely on him. If, you know, again, with Sturek here, for a first game, for being, you know, behind a patchwork defense, he made some nice saves. But yeah, I don't know how often you want to throw this guy out there, right? So you really got to hope that Hogberg is healthy at the end of the 2 weeks.
Yeah, I think that's a crucial point there, Andrew, for sure. Absolutely. But Andrew, always an absolute pleasure having you on the show. Really appreciate your time here tonight, and hope you enjoy the game tomorrow in Vegas, or in UBS, I should say.
Yeah, always good talking to you, Sean and Stefen. Well, man, Steph, I talk to you.
Yeah, way too much. Yeah, appreciate it though.
All right, Andrew, take care.
Later, take care.
All righty. All right, folks, that was On the Line, presented by Tovi Hockey, the innovative hockey technology company. And Stefen, you're going to add some more to that.
Oh, yeah. Let me just take a deep breath here. Okay. Tovi Hockey, the innovative hockey technology company, is the creator of the 100% solid carbon fiber Diamond Air blade, the only other NHL-approved blade technology. With superior feel and increased swing speed due to its perforated design, unparalleled control thanks to the micro grip blade texture, greater durability courtesy of its patented aerodynamic cross-beam construction, and unparalleled shooting accuracy thanks to its large sweet spot, Tovi Hockey is changing the game by making the next-gen stick of tomorrow available today. Go to tovihockey.com to check out their great selections of sticks, gear, apparel, and use promo code HNINY10 for 10% off your order. Tovi Hockey. Stronger, faster, superior.
That's right, folks. We're going to take one more break. When we come back, it's time for What's on Tap.
Islanders fans, Sunday night is hockey night in New York. Whether you were raised at the barn in Uniondale or born in the stable at Belmont, tune in to Hockey Night in New York. Catch us live from Floored Media in Rockville Center, Sunday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern, as we cover all things Islanders at twitch.tv/HockeyNightNY. All episodes are also available on YouTube and all your favorite podcast providers. And for all you social butterflies, you can follow @HockeyNightNY on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram for all the latest updates. Hockey Night in New York, the best night of the week for any Islanders fan. Thanks for giving some time to our sponsors. Ready to talk more Isles? The train rolls on right here on Hockey Night in New York.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. The train rolls on right into Center Station Bar and Grill, our wonderful sponsors from right here in Rockville Center, presenting What's on Tap. And as we just talked about it with Mr. Andrew Gross, 3 very tough games coming up for the New York Islanders, which may or may not determine whether they're buyers, sellers, or standing pat. But we start tomorrow in Elmont. UBS Arena. Las Vegas comes to town to play the New York Islanders. Always a tough game against Vegas, but we
Except the last one.
Correct. And we see how the Islanders have been performing against these tougher teams more recently. And I think if you're aiming for that 1-1-1 record, the 3 out of 6 points, this is the game you got to win. Win this game and try to steal at least 1 out of those 2 at the end of the week.
And you got to hope that UBS is... I mean, the Islanders played well enough since what happened maybe with the Barzal quote a couple weeks ago. I mean, they went out and proved like, hey, there's a reason to come watch us play. They're fun to watch. Them playing fast off the rush. The Florida game last night, I know they lost, but Andrew just said it as well. There was a back-and-forth game. The Tampa game was back-and-forth. These are fun, exciting games. And so I think hopefully the crowd shows up. I know it's a Tuesday night, which is sometimes tough. This is the Vegas Golden Knights. What I'll say about Vegas is last time the Islanders were in Vegas, Lou had spoken right before that game and said, I believe in this team. He had no real reason to say that, but he does. What did they do? Was it a 4-0 shutout win?
Sure.
I think it was a shutout win. Right?
I believe you.
They dominated. It was a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
And now this time around, Lou shows with action. He didn't really say it to us on Saturday how much he believed in the team, but he showed by going and acquiring 3 defensemen that he believes in this team. And now they face Vegas again in a pivotal moment of their season.
Yeah.
And Vegas is struggling. 3-game skid. They just lost 4-2 to the Rangers. Will Cooley sent Alex Pietrangelo into the NHL break with his hit. I don't know if you saw that hit, but... probably one of the biggest hits I've ever seen. Will Cooley,
yes.
And Pietrangelo's a guy
down by the corner. Oh, yeah.
Pietrangelo's a guy that's not playing in the Four Nations because he has to heal something that's been bothering him. And Cooley
Maybe a few more things now.
Yeah, Cooley, I mean, that was destruction. Then he fights, too. I'm impressed by Cooley there. But Vegas is struggling. They're 2-5-3 in their last 10. 3-game skid, lost 4-2 to the Rangers.
Okay.
This is what you want. You want to see the Islanders come out and just do what they did against Vegas last time. Aiden Hill's been shaky. I think he's going to be the starter. But, yeah, this is a Vegas team that's trying to find their way right now, and they're a little lost. And as much as the Islanders did lose against Florida, injuries aside with Barzal, but just the Panthers are a really good hockey team. They're first in their division. It's a Vegas team that's beatable. They've proven that they are beatable. And I think for the Islanders, like you said, this is the one they got to win. And if they played the same way they played yesterday, clean up a little of the turnovers, that's one of those situations where Florida at home just dominated. That's really what happened early. And they came back, and once they got to their game in that second period, 3 unanswered goals. So it was there.
Right.
So bring the second period, minus the last 10 seconds of that second period or whatever it was.
Yes.
And the Islanders will come away victorious against Vegas.
Yeah, listen, look, nothing to take away from Skarek, but you got Sorokin back in net.
Right.
And now this is going to be an interesting test for the team, right? Because they were riding that wave of 7 games. They look good. Obviously, last night was a big bump in the road. Let's see how they readjust. Can they kind of get back on track and be like, you know what, we're gonna just get right back to winning.
And it will be a first home game for Boqvist, right? That should be exciting. He's a real exciting guy. Like he's down to earth, really nice guy.
Cool.
Like Andrew said, these are all defensemen. I know the others who have played at home, but like they're trying to prove something. He's an RFA. He got passed up. Like coming at home and trying to have a big game in front of the home crowd. That's fun. That's exciting.
Yeah.
You want to see Boqvist take the opportunity and run with it. And also, you mentioned Duclair. He might be the most important player now going forward for this team in that top line. You want to see him after he struggled a little bit coming back from illness. Should have one of those Duclair-esque games because I don't think he's had one of those moments yet.
Yeah, he's been struggling. I remember the last time I looked up his stats, he had 2 points in 14 games, something to that effect. I'm not sure what it is right this moment, but he's kind of quieted down ever since he's come back from his injury. Right? He had some early points when he came back, and then he kind of quieted down. So this is a big opportunity for him to fill some huge shoes in Mat Barzal. Nobody's filling those shoes all the way to the top, but he's got an opportunity here to play potentially with Horvat, play with Lee on the top line and bag some points. So we'll see if he can develop some chemistry with them. And then you move on to the weekend. Tough back-to-back. I mean, my God, Winnipeg and Minnesota, both excellent teams. You got Hellebuck there in Winnipeg. I'm sure he'll get the start that night.
Well, we'll see I don't know if those teams are on back-to-backs. I think the NHL is trying to squeeze it. But regardless, I mean, this is a Winnipeg Jets team, that's 8-2-0 in their last 10 games. 6-game winning streak. Now, Comrie, what I will say, if it is Comrie to the Islanders' face, I think he's won his first game in like 9 starts. Like it's been Hellebuck, so if Hellebuck is going to be the guy who's going to represent Team USA at the Four Nations, he's been essentially impossible to beat in games. That being said, the Islanders are a team that people count out, and they just find ways. Gritty performances. They're another team that off the rush, they're dangerous. They're fast. Nikolai Ehlers I think he's up to a point per game pace this year. A guy that the Islanders had scouted at the draft. You thought maybe there was something there. They might probably still have their eyes on him. He's a pending UFA. Who knows what Winnipeg does with that? Because they were great last year, went into the playoffs and got lit up.
Right.
Hellebuck got lit up. So do they, look at Rantanen. He gets traded. Does the Jets think, hey, we can't re-sign Ehlers? Are we going to trade him as well? So it's a tough time for them because they got to figure some things out. But especially the first game of back-to-back, I would think Sorokin gets both because then you're going to have 2 weeks off. But you probably, like the same way you started Sorokin against Tampa Bay, you're starting Sorokin probably against Winnipeg. So in that game, try to get a point. I mean, 2 points obviously is ideal, but just find a way to stay in that game because the way Sorokin's played, and we'll get to him in like a couple of minutes, but he's going to keep you in every single game. And as long as the Islanders stay within striking distance, their grittiness, at least lately, could allow that game to go. I can see that game going overtime if the Islanders play the way they've played.
That's it, right? If they can get back on track, play like they have over this streak, this last stretch here, even a little previous to the winning streak, they were playing pretty well before that as well. If they can just get back to that without Barzal, then they got a shot in both of these games. But it's going to be tough. Minnesota's going to be a super tough team too. They're one of the top teams in the league. And to face them on the second of back-to-backs is just a tall order like we saw similar against Florida last night.
I would love to see them face Fleury. Big Fleury guy. Wore number 29 in high school for varsity because of him.
Look at that.
Just a fun guy. I don't know if he's going to start, but Minnesota's a guy. They're with a team, that's without Kaprizov.
Right
now. They are, what's their record right now? They just got shellacked 6-0 by Ottawa, so they're beatable.
Ottawa has been an absolute
I know, but they just lost
lately.
Norris injury-wise. He won't be back till around the deadline. I saw Vancouver, I think, was talking about him. But they've won 3 of their last 4. But no Kaprizov. I mean, again, if Ottawa's been good, but a 6-0 win that's a 6-0 win. So if literally, but I'm trying to say is that they are beatable as well. And they've been elite this year. And that's a team where Brock Nelson's got to show up in front of Bill Guerin.
Well, not only was it a 6-0 win, it was like 52 shots to like 16. They brutalized them. I think they had 8 power plays in the game, Ottawa did. Yeah. So, I mean, maybe Minnesota's reeling a little bit. You know, I mean, we have a decent amount of time between now and Saturday where they can get their act together. But maybe this is a team that the Islanders can pounce on.
But I think it's important because, you know, I've looked at what the return could be if the Islanders do sell Nelson to Minnesota. That's like kind of like, what did Bouchergrass say the other day? It's the... best kept secret or something like that. That he's going to Minnesota. I wouldn't buy that. I think Bouchergrass is just Bouchergrassing the moment there with the mic. But if you are the Islanders and that is a potential possibility, you want to see Brock Nelson show up in his home state and dominate because the return's not ideal. Like, I don't think they're giving up Zeev Bium, who's one of the best defensemen in the country. They're not giving up Marco Rossi. They don't have a first-round pick. So if Minnesota wants Brock Nelson badly, they're going to have to give a lot more probably because they don't have the assets that the Islanders would probably be looking for. Yeah. But anytime players go, I mean, Anders Lee's going back home. Who else? Perunovich, I think, is from Minnesota.
Yep.
Just like a homecoming for a lot of these guys. And you Scotty P, yes. Yeah. Perunovich. Petrovic is a different defenseman, actually. I think he played for the Panthers. I don't know. I made that up. Yeah, like fine. Anytime they go back to Minnesota is always fun. So I think that could bring the most out of those guys as well. So we'll see. I know you usually ask Jake what he thinks the record is going to be.
Jake? Not here. No snake den tonight.
Yeah. But I think this week...
We're safe from the snakes.
Let's say 2-1-0.
2-1-0?
Yeah.
Optimistic Stefen.
I think because they're going to piss off so many Islander fans by going into the break. Like, in a spot where, what are they going to... Like, if they go 0-3 this week, I mean, then again, if Andrew's saying Lou's made up his mind, doesn't matter. But 0-3 probably means you're in trouble point wise.
Yes.
If they go 1-1, it's like okay. But if they go and have a winning record, Islander fans are going to be so torn, and they're going to be waiting 2 weeks plus to be like, what are we going to do?
They do have to pick up some points this week because I was looking at the games ahead this week, and granted, I don't remember exactly what they are. No, this week. And I'm pretty certain you got teams like Tampa, Ottawa, Columbus, all kind of playing each other.
Oh, great.
During this week. So that means somebody is earning those points. So, again, if they don't have a successful week, if they don't go 2-1-0 or 3-0, they're probably going to drop a point or two in the standings. And that's only talking about a few teams. You still got the Rangers.
They could go 3-0 and not move up a spot.
It's 100% possible, which is why a week ago I was saying there's no chance, and now all of a sudden here we are, and they got within 3 or 4 points. So anything can happen. But look, hats off to them if they do have a successful week this week, because again, 3 tough teams, and then they deserve to be there. And then we just see what they do when we come back from the break. You have the 4 nations. That's 2 weeks off. Maybe they get at least a player or two back from the injured list there, and then maybe that gives them a boost heading into the trade deadline. I mean, I think what every Islander fan wants, though, is either just feast or famine, right? Either win all the games to just, okay, they got a shot, let's see how they do, or lose all the games to force loose hand, sell so that, you don't have that scenario where, oh man, we didn't, trade these guys and we got nothing for them. And, they end up going on a 3-game losing streak right after the trade deadline or something like that, right? Which is perfectly possible too. Yeah. They could position themselves right before the trade deadline and then hit the tank. We don't know. So we'll see what happens.
Or they could keep everybody and go on an absolute tear.
Anything can happen, folks.
But before we get to questions brewing,
Okay.
I would like to talk about something that happened with Paul Maurice, the Florida Panthers.
Yeah.
So Dmitry Kulikov, let me set the stage here before we get some audio clips.
Please.
Dmitry Kulikov was playing his first home game back since hitting the 1,000-game milestone.
Yeah.
And not every team does it, but the Islanders came out to watch. And not only did they come out to watch, they did the stick taps. They were involved just emotionally. I think a lot of the guys have a lot of respect. Also, when you have guys like Cal Clutterbuck, who you've seen do it, or Andy Green, right?
Sure.
So after the game, a big win for Florida, the way they kind of persevered through that. Paul Maurice, before he took any question, had this to say about the New York Islanders.
I'd like to thank Patrick Waugh and the New York Islanders. I thought, these guys, tough back-to-back for them. They got a whole bunch of players out of their lineup. So when we do the ceremony, they have the option to stay in their room or come out. And they came out on the bench to recognize them each. I just thought it was an incredibly classy thing for them to do, and we really appreciate it very much.
Yeah, a lot of banging mistakes, and they were into
and you don't have to. And I've been on benches for pretty significant moments for players on the team when other teams didn't come up. I never understood that. So, but especially, they're all beat up. I have 4 defensemen, the top offensive player of their lineup tonight. You win 7 in a row just like that. They battled and stayed in games and scored late and competed so very, very hard, and it looked like it was going to happen here again tonight. But I thought that was an incredibly classy thing for them to do.
Paul Maurice is one of my favorite people. One, if you guys remember, when he stepped down from being the Winnipeg Jets head coach, he had this emotional press conference. And I don't know the guy, obviously. I think I met him once or twice at the draft, maybe. But I watched that video, and I wanted to run through I didn't know the guy at all. I wanted to run through a brick. Like, if you were on the Winnipeg Jets, and your coach stepped down to say, listen, I'm not the right guy. I need to give someone an opportunity that is, because I love you guys too much to stay here and ruin you guys. I was like, what? And then you watch, I forgot what the Amazon thing was about the cup. And how Paul Maurice cursing at them after games, or the locker room stuff. Like, how do you not want to just, like, one, hug him if you win, like in the cup, but two, the respect level. Then you saw it the way he talked about the Islanders. Not that he was giving them excuses, but, you know, coaches have to deal with their teams and prepare their teams. But clearly Paul Maurice pays attention to the emotional side of everything. Hey, they got 4D out. Barzal was out. And then he starts crediting them, too, with how they've been battling and going through it. I mean, I thought it was just amazing. The Islanders didn't obviously do that so they could have a coach praise them for it. They did it because that's the kind of group this Islanders group is. And I think the league in general, the NHL, we saw with Johnny Gaudreau stuff how tight a group it is. But I thought it was just an absolute class act by Paul Maurice to start his press conference that way.
Oh yeah, no, I've been a big fan of Maurice's for a while, and I think it was even more cemented, you know, when they went to the Cup and he was more in the limelight, right? You were seeing more interviews because you're dialed into the Cup. Right? Like, we're not watching every Jets game when he was coaching them. We're not watching every Panthers game, right? But you get to the Cup final and you start seeing every press conference before and after every game. You're like, man, this guy's just a class act, and he really gets the game, and he really gets his players, like you said, right? So, yeah, and it was just another classy move here to acknowledge the Islanders, because he could have just, you know, moved on and talked about the game and whatnot, but he made a point to acknowledge the Islanders and Patrick Waugh for that gesture. So I thought that was pretty cool. And fun fact, Stefen, I'm pretty sure it was either after Scott Gordon or Jack Capuano was fired. I believe he was spotted in the practice facility. I think he interviewed for the Islanders coaching job at one point. Obviously didn't pan out, but I'm pretty sure he at least got an interview. Yeah. Yeah. Didn't happen. What are you going to do?
What are you going to do?
What are you going to do? So now we move on to Hero of the Week. All right, Stefen, we're starting to get up against the gun here a little bit, so why don't you tell us who your hero is?
Make him really quick. Ilya Sorokin, NHL's first star of the week, 3-0-0, 1.33 goals against average, 9.53 save. Going 2 weeks ago, 6-0-0, 1.19 goals against average, 9.53 save percentage, but the important part, 9.33 PK save percentage. And then Jakob Skarek making his NHL debut, drafted in 2018. It's been a minute for him. He hasn't really gotten a chance. Gets a chance, and he was so grateful post-game. You wanted to give him a tap on the shoulder. McLean went and hugged him, too, because he's worked his tail off to get an opportunity. He finally gets one. He showed well enough in a game that the team in front of him really gave him no chance.
Yeah, and I think everybody needed to see this Ilya Sorokin, right? It's been a little while.
Yeah.
And we saw what happened last season. Everybody was nervous about the back injury. You come into this season, he starts off pretty well, then he kind of hits a little bit of a rough patch. And, of course, that has a lot to do with the team playing in front of him as well. But it's nice to see Vezina caliber Ilya Sorokin show up for a nice stretch of games here. Now let's see if he can keep it up.
Who's your hero?
My hero is Mr. Simon Holmstrom. Talked about him a little bit with Andrew Gross before during On the Line. But this guy's been great. 2 goals and an assist versus the Avs. 1 goal versus Philadelphia. 2 assists versus the Bolts during all of those wins. Currently has 13 goals, 16 assists for 29 points, as I mentioned before. Already passes his career high from last season of 25 points. He is currently on a 53-point pace if he keeps this up, and he's been playing over 16 minutes a game. His ice time has gone up, so this is a guy who has finally earned a little more trust from the coaching staff and perhaps from the fan base, where, like I was saying to Andrew before, maybe this is a guy who finally is finding a bigger role with this team because he is playing with more confidence.
He's doing what Wallstrom couldn't.
Okay, there you go. So that'll do it for Hero of the Week. Before we go into Questions Brewing, though, I'm going to tell you guys about Isles Fix. Islanders Country, get your daily fix of Isles news, highlights, and analysis by subscribing to Isles Fix, the Monday through Friday Islanders newsletter sent directly to your inbox. Sign up for free or become a paid subscriber for added benefits at islesfix.substack.com. And now we go in to Questions Brewing.
It's time for Questions Brewing. So go ahead. Ask us a question.
Do it, Stefen.
Yeah, I'm good.
Bam. Edzo, J-Bone, how we doing, fellas?
We're great.
Yeah?
We're great. Yeah.
Speaking for Jay again, because
Yeah,
he doesn't have a
smiled, so-
microphone.
Yes.
He's got a little
He
smirk
told me
on
to
him.
say great.
How's Jay feeling? He's been a little under the weather. Thumbs up.
Thumbs
All right.
up
Very
from Jay.
enthusiastic
Okay.
thumbs up. Happy Jays are here again. All right. What do you got, pal?
Yes, Monday, Tuesday, happy Jays. All right, so I'm going to start with this question. I like this question a lot from the Wheel 89. 7-game win streak is great, but the Isles out shooting teams like Tampa and Florida is what stands out to me even more as a change. Was this happening all season and they weren't getting results, or is this a recent change?
I think this is something we've seen generally as an improvement since Patrick Waugh's taken over for the team. Now, sure, you have your games where they get outshot, absolutely. But I'm pretty sure just the type of game that Waugh has them playing, more emphasis on puck possession, more emphasis on getting shots on net. This has been more of a Patrick Waugh type of thing. But more recently, sure.
Yeah, it's been like Trotz, a lot of perimeter shots. There a lot fewer shots they're allowing, and most of the shots have been perimeter, which is why the defense and Sorokin have had a lot more success.
Yeah. Next up from Dale S. on YouTube. He says, how will the salary cap increase affect the Islanders going forward?
Well, it affects
Everybody
every team.
wins.
Everybody wins, but you look
Everybody
at
wins.
Sorokin deal now is not as bad.
Right.
Whatever deal Dobson's going to get, it's not as bad. Scott Mayfield's deal is nothing. Engvall's deal means nothing. So any contract they signed during COVID or the last couple of years where they thought, oh, that might be a little risky, Barzal at 9.15 is not that bad either. So I think it helps every team, but it also allows now the Islanders and a lot of other teams to be big game hunting now in the summer, as opposed to maybe it was like 5 or 6. Now a lot more teams, and that means a lot more teams are willing to probably move cap or take on cap because they know how much more accessible these stars are going to be in free agency.
Yeah, the cap is going up by literally a high-end player every summer.
Yeah.
Like, you could basically just add a guy. You know, I mean, look, there's going to be raises for guys and all that stuff. It's not really going to work out that way, but it's a nice cushion. But you bring up Engvall and Mayfield. One thing I'm curious about, and I don't know if these things are tied together, but if because the cap is going up so much, does that mean when you drop a guy down on waivers, will it perhaps take more off of the cap?
Yeah.
Because they kind of stretched it up again.
It
may
that's
not.
CBA.
Right.
So I don't know when the next CBA is. I don't think it's this.
That's up after next summer.
Yeah, so I think it'll still be 1.15 that you could bury. But the next CBA, I would assume that number goes up because they want the players making more and you'll have more. So I think.
Okay, so that could work too.
Yeah.
Great.
Good point.
Next up from Slappy Tuna, one of my favorite names.
Nice.
Sloppy.
Any predictions for the Four Nations face-off or any players you're looking forward to watching?
Well, I think Canada will be fun to just watch Crosby, McKinnon, and McDavid go nuts. I know they're all three centers, but I feel like we'll see some shifts in them together. But I think Team USA is going to kill everybody. I really do. I don't trust Canada. I'm not a big Bennington fan, as everybody knows here, but I don't. Hellebuck in goal. If Hellebuck plays the way Hellebuck plays, they have the best goaltending. They probably have the best defense. And like Pietrangelo dropping out. Finland took huge blows and Sweden took huge blows. So I think it's come down to U.S. and Canada, but I just think USA is going to take it.
I'm just stoked to see best on best hockey. And now, granted, it's only 4 teams. It's not the full field. But I'll take it. We're finally getting to see guys like Austin Matthews and Connor McDavid. Remember, we only really saw them in the World Cup of hockey.
They were
with
North America. Yeah.
Right. Like, that was a little strange, right? But at least we get to see them on the big stage now. And I think U.S.-Canada is going to be unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, those games are always fun to watch. And now you're not going to put this up to the same level as the Olympics or World Cup because it is only 4 teams, but like this might be a year for the U.S., kind of like 96 when they won it, because they finally have a bomb squad of their own again. Now, maybe it doesn't stack man for man up against Canada, but it's still a formidable group.
I think everyone also wants to see what happens when JT Miller faces Elias Pettersson, Utah versus Sweden.
Sure.
And see who hits who or how that goes, because if there is a feud, which the GM or the president came out and talked about, I would love to see some glove dropping or some big hit. Because obviously they can't be happy with each other in the fact that he had to be traded.
Yeah.
Given like even Horvat, I talked to Horvat about it. He was shocked it even got to that point.
Yeah.
There's got to be players in the Canucks that are like, dude, like someone's got to light somebody up because this is ridiculous.
We'll see.
Isle 72 says, name a first line forward on a non-player playoff team, on a non-playoff team that you could see Lou making a trade for.
Brock Besser. Well, I don't think
so Vancouver's just giving everybody away.
Well, I think Besser's going to walk. So I think they're in the same situation as Brock. Because, and a lot of rumors Besser wants to be in Minnesota just like Brock.
All the Brocks.
So the question is, though, is Lou willing to go and get a rental?
Right.
Like, that's the question.
I don't think so.
I don't think so. But there's not that many top-line players. that teams are going to be moving. Like we talked about Ehlers before, or Mitch Marner. Like they're in playoff spots for a reason. Unless they feel like they have to, they're not going to. So I would keep an eye on Brock Besser. But outside of that, you're talking about top line players probably on the move. I think a lot more depth players or middle six players are going to be moved.
Yeah. CGS, when is the last time that the Islanders had a hat trick? Actually, I think that's Kyle Palmieri, right?
Yeah.
I think you're right.
When Wild first started, right?
Well, Palmieri was their best player for a long stretch of Wild, so I agree with you.
Right,
it was probably Palmieri.
was, but we don't know offhand. Ask Eric Horner.
Yeah. Yeah, what are we doing?
Google it, chat, and let us know. I'm pretty sure it's Kyle Palmieri.
Yeah.
Loho, son of God, says, if we decide to keep UFAs and try to retool through free agency, who could the Isles realistically target to fill those holes?
Well, I think the field is certainly expanded now with news of this cap going up. I mean, that's definitely a lot of breathing room. And if they do hang on to these guys to finish out the season, I mean, like you just noted, seems like Brock's not coming back if he actually does have his heart in Minnesota. It sounds that way. We'll see. Palmieri, I think he's a guy. He's, as you just said, he's been great under Wah, and I think he's just been a very solid player for this team. But you got to look at his age, and you got to look at what this team wants to do. We all seem to be convinced that a retool is on the way, whether it's before the deadline, whether it's this summer. But it seems like this is a team that finally needs to kind of get out from under these 30-somethings with the expensive contracts and try to swing it into some younger guys with more speed, some talent if you can, whatever the case, right? So I don't know if you see Palmieri coming back either, unless again he takes a nice little hometown discount. It does help that he is from the island. But the fact that the space is opened up, I think they will be active looking for some players this summer.
I do think Lou's talked about these hockey trades that we haven't really seen since the Horvat. Like I do think the Islanders, if they're going to do it, it's going to be through trade because of assets like Noah Dobson. Or they actually have assets now with the defense they've brought on, a couple of RFA defensemen. They might have to look to trade a Pulak or guys like that. So I don't think free agency is where they're going to make their real changes. I think it's going to be with whether it's one of the defensemen they just brought in, who's a pending RFA if they play really well, or move one of their D staples. Because if you want to go get a guy like Pettersson or Marner or just throwing names out there, Dobson's probably the first name being included in that. I'm not saying the Islanders want to part with Dobson, but if I'm another team and I'm saying, hey, I'm giving up a top talent, I want your young rising defenseman star who had 70 points. Yeah, he's hurt. Yeah, he struggled this year. But a lot of teams are going to believe that Dobson can still turn it around and be that guy. So I think it'll be more changes via trade that like that with Washington. They did a lot of trades.
Yep.
Their big moves were trades. So I think that's what we'll see.
Yeah, and the Wheel added that Palmieri had the fastest hat trick in Isles history.
There you go.
And it was against I looked it up, it was against the Bruins.
Okay.
All right, so State of Survival
Facts.
Yes, facts. Does Lou have something up his sleeve as far as trades go? If players start to get healthy, defense, will Lou waive assets or he's just acquired or prepping for a trade?
So the one thing Lou has proven time and time again, if he doesn't have to lose a player or risk a player being taken, he's not going to do that. Now, this means that the Islanders, while they wait for guys to get healthy, no one else goes down injured. But he's going to have a hard decision to make because he can't activate these guys unless he clears cap space. I think Chalowski would go on waivers first, clearly because they kept grabbing guys off waivers or signing players or trading for players rather than just letting Chalowski play. So I think Chalowski would go down first, and then it's between Perunovich and Boqvist on who else stays, because I don't see DeAngelo going anywhere. But yeah, I think he'd probably rather trade some of those guys than put anyone in waivers outside of Chalowski, Chalowski maybe could get you something, a 5th or 6th round pick. Something.
Maybe, but the main point about Lou Lamoriello is that guy can always have something up his sleeve, because usually the deals that he does pull off, we don't even see coming.
Right.
Yeah. Next up from Tom Boyle, he asks, if the Islanders make the playoffs, do you think they have any chance of beating Washington or Florida in the first round?
I love these questions. It looks like T. Boyle is a little
He's
more
back on
positive.
the train, baby.
Right? Yeah. There's always a chance, and I hate when people say, well, there's no point in making the playoffs. You really have no idea. The Capitals made the playoffs last year, and they got swept. Usually
different team, but sure.
Right. But I'm saying, though, usually the number one team that makes the playoffs, or they don't ever win the Cup. It's always there's always an underdog story. And to be honest, I know the Islanders are hurt. Let's say they got Barzal back for the playoffs. The way they've played over these last 7 games, beating Carolina, beating Colorado, the way they dominated Vegas, beating Tampa shorthanded late. I mean, some of these games are playoff type games against really talented opponents.
Yeah.
That I would not put it past the Islanders if they play that way. They have to play this way in the playoffs. They could get past a first round now. Is getting to the second round good enough for a group if you hold on to UFAs? No. I think winning the cup would probably be the only way you say holding on to these guys and getting nothing for a guy like Brock Nelson makes any sense. But the way this version of the Islanders, the way they've played under Roy over most of this winning streak, and I know they lost, like that team could definitely make noise in the playoffs. But that's been the hardest thing, is playing that way consistently.
Yeah, and injuries can happen. You just don't know. On the other side, you don't wish for it, but that could happen too. Where timing could work out, where a big guy goes down on a team, and then all of a sudden you got a shot. Now refresh my faulty memory here, Stefen. Have the Islanders played the Caps yet this season? Maybe once.
They played twice.
Did they play twice already?
They played in DC.
Okay.
I'm sorry, they played one more. I think they played twice. They played one more time in DC.
Okay.
Which is like borderline around when Ovechkin's going to hit the record.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Like,
well,
so it's
also at home. They have the Caps late at home.
All right, so they played him 2 more times. So they played him once in DC.
So not enough. All right, fair enough.
Or twice. They played him 4 times?
I think they played them 4 times.
I think they played them twice already.
Okay.
They played another 2. But we mentioned the playoffs, by the way, too. If Sorokin's playing the way he's playing now, yes, the Islanders can get past the first round because we're seeing how important goaltending is, and I know Sorokin was really bad last year, and his one playoff spot was bad. Mm-hmm. But the way he's playing right now, I don't know if there's another goalie in the league I want in between the pipes, maybe outside Hellebuck, than Ilya Sorokin right now.
And since it seems at this point only realistic to get a wild card spot, unless the Devils tank, and who knows, it could happen. But I would rather draw the Caps than the Panthers, regardless of who's got more points at the end of the year.
1,000%.
Yeah, for sure. Ed, one more, and then we got to go.
Okay, we'll do this from Ray. Would Barzal make a better window or mirror? I guess.
Are you trying to insinuate that he's made of glass, Ray?
He has been injury prone.
Yes, he has had his injuries this year, but I listen, that's just bad luck. I mean, the guy, you encourage your players to block shots. He gets in front of a shot. He does what he has to do, and unfortunately, it catches him in the wrong spot. And it happens to some guys. Sometimes it hits a guy's foot and it blows the bones in their foot up. And then this happens to be a situation where he blocks a shot. It just seems to have hit him in just the wrong spot in his knee or around his knee, and now he's out, and it's unfortunate. But I don't think this has earned if we're being even half serious with this question,
which we're not, hopefully.
Right. I don't think this has earned Mat Barzal a reputation that he's injury prone and that you can't keep him healthy for a season.
And then you had earlier in the year, he gets crushed in a hit by Chinnikov. And then a couple of years ago was an injury against Boston where he got his ankle squished against the boards.
Yeah.
Probably window, though, if I had to pick.
Window. There you go. I'll go mirror.
Yeah,
how about that?
Yeah.
All right. Well, if we didn't get to anybody else's questions, we're sorry, but unfortunately, we do have to wrap this one up, and we do appreciate your questions. And before we head out, I want to remind you all about the Hockey Night in New York Patreon. That's right. Go to patreon.com/HockeyNightNY for exclusive content featuring Q&As, columns, videos, behind the scenes, merchant partner discounts, and even an invitation to hang with us here at Floored Media as we air a live episode of Hockey Night in New York. You saw Jack here with us a couple of weeks ago, and it's a great way to support the show. So check it out, patreon.com/HockeyNightNY. And now we can wrap up the show. So first and foremost, want to send out a big thanks to Mr. Andrew Gross from Newsday. Always a pleasure, always a fun time having him on the show. And of course, a huge thanks to our wonderful sponsors, starting with Main Street Board Game Cafe, located at 307 Main Street in Huntington Village. Find out how to unplug your game at mainstboardgamecafe.com. Also, a big thanks to Center Station Bar and Grill. Head on down to 279A Sunrise Highway in Rockville Center for Isles games, live music, karaoke, comedy shows, and more. And a big thanks to Razor and Kniff, attorneys at law. Nobody likes going to court, but if you have to, call 212-LAW-1500 for a free consultation. Of course, last but not least, Tovi Hockey, creators of the Diamond Air Blade. Go to tovihockey.com. Use promo code HNINY10 for 10% off their great products. And folks, if you like or love what we're doing here at Hockey Night in New York, please remember to rate, review, and subscribe to the show, because it's always a big help to us. Say something nice. Say something nice about Stefen.
Yeah, please, I need it. My ego is a little low.
Speaking of Stefen, where can we find you around the world?
You can find me around the world. Stefen _, yeah, thank you. It's like, where in the world is Carmen Sandiego? Stefen _Rosner at STEFEN _ROSNER, NHL.com, the Hockey News, and the ElMonters.com, my weekly newsletter, but also too, Sean should probably point out we're doing a pregame show on Saturday.
That's right, Saturday, 6 o'clock. The Islanders are playing the Wild at 8, so we'll give you an hour plus for a little pregame. Then you can watch Shannon and Butch and Hick and all those people, Brendan, all those folks talking about the game. But yeah, 6 o'clock on Saturday before the Wild game. That's when we're coming back. Great job there.
Yeah, I didn't want to forget that. You just call him Hick.
No, not you.
No,
Thomas Hickey.
No, I know.
I'm saying he's going to be part of the broadcast.
No, I know. I never. No, anyway, we have to close up.
What's
Where can
happening
they
here?
find you?
You can find me at one place only, thank God, on Twitter, at Shawnee Hockey. You can follow the show everywhere else, at Hockey Night NY. You can check out the website, hockeynightny.com, for columns, features, more coverage of your beloved New York Islanders, so check that out as well. And pour one out for Jake the Snake Radonis, who couldn't join us tonight. He was a little busy. But that'll do it for Hockey Night in New York. So for Stefen, for Ed, for Jay,
For Hick.
for Hick, and the ghost of Jake the Snake Radonis, I've been Sean Cuthbert. We've been Hockey Night in New York. We'll see you Saturday at 6 o'clock.